And at SCREENXX Summit and Awards 2022, it is now time for the next session. Something that's going to be very interesting, and the topic is Bonanza, time for actors exploring newer horizons. We all know the world of OTT has given aspiring actors a huge platform. And with so many OTT platforms, of course, we have budding actors. We have established actors who are also creating a better impact to their respective fans and audiences through various web series, or it could be various other opportunities. And taking us through this session, we have our panel who will join us on stage. My pleasure to request them to join us on stage. The session is going to be chaired by Sudeep Lahiri, Content and VP Content and Strategies, One Digital. Welcome. And joining us in the panel, we have Tahir Shabir and Apurva Arora, both of them who are established actors. I'm sure faces that are very familiar to you. Can we request them to join us on stage, please?
Okay, so we're talking about a pretty interesting topic actually, which is the entire transition that is happening in the lives of actors and content creators, right? Where we're moving from what was earlier called mainstream entertainment, and something else is becoming the mainstream right now, right? And I think this transition is a beautiful time for a lot of people. A lot is changing, a lot is happening, and also for the audiences. But before we go ahead, I'd really like you guys to just let everyone here know what you guys are working on, what you've done in the past, and that'll explain the transition a little better, I guess.
Hi everyone, my name is Apurva Arora, and you know, like he said, it's been a great time for actors, and there's no dearth of opportunities luckily, but when I started back in 2011, it was going from audition to audition. Trying to crack a movie was a big deal, because I understand that there's a lot that goes into making a movie, especially monetarily. So people are very careful when they want to experiment. So I started with a very small film called Bubblegum, and that's how I ventured into acting. Post that, I did a couple of TVCs and a lot of feature films as well, some down south, some in the north, in Punjab. And suddenly there was a time when web shows were being offered. I was being called to audition for web shows, and I couldn't quite understand what this is all going to be about. And 4 years later, I'm here, and I've done about 6 or 7, if I'm not wrong. And people must have seen me in College Romance, since you asked me to talk about the work that I've done. There's been some things on YouTube, some shows on OTT, and over to you, Tahir.
मैं क्या बताऊँ? So my journey has been a little opposite. My name's Tahir Shabir. How is everybody doing? Hi. So mine is the reverse trajectory actually, because मेरी ना बड़ी छोटी उम्र में engagement हो गई थी. So the girl I was engaged to told me you can't act, right? And I was 19 when Sudhir Mishra there's 2 of us, there's Ashutosh and me. He picked us out of college. We were documentary filmmakers, और हम लोग शादी में जो संगीत में जो video चलता है ना, so we used to direct that. And Sudhir picked us up, so we said, okay, I didn't even know who Sudhir was, but he said, okay, he had made Hazaron Khwaishein Aisi, so we joined him. So I directed, so we became his second unit directors, his executive producers. So we directed second unit on Khoya Khoya Chand, Tera Kya Gajoni, Once Upon a Time in Mumbai, Agnipath, Bhag Milkha Bhag, Fitur, वगैरह. Then suddenly when I was single, I realized now I can act, man. So much later, when I was already a director and a producer, I said, abhi karte hai, and I started my career actually I had acted in a film called Qurban when I was I think 19 with Karan Johar, because I'm a big Karan Johar fan, and they said तेरे को अमेरिका लेके जाएंगे. I was like, वाह अमेरिका जाएंगे, मतलब मैं भिंडी बाजार से मैं सीधा अमेरिका गया, तो बड़ा खुश हुआ. But that was not really, I don't really count it because I just went there. I was not trained as an actor. Then I trained for a long time. I trained my acting guru Neeraj Kabi, 100 days with him. Yeah, I'm a big fan also. And so then I did my television show. It's called Nisha aur Uske Cousins. I had a great time doing that. I was very averse to television, by the way, but television taught me a lot. Then I did a film called Fan. It was a bit of a cameo, but Shah Rukh Khan actually told me, he said, beta, tu TV kar raha hai na, because there's an ease that television brings to you, as long as you keep cinema and don't become a TV actor. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying. And then I was lucky enough to work with Neeraj Pandey and Shivam sir on Naam Shabana. The last one I did, and I'm really proud of, is a film called Guilty. It's on Netflix. Please watch it, for the women of the world, especially in India. And yeah, then I've done some work, yeah. But that's pretty much my journey.
So it's not really a reverse trajectory for you either. I mean, you did television and now you're doing digital, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So has the process changed? Like you're saying, earlier it was going for 100 auditions, meeting people, waiting for the producer to approve. Maybe they will figure out they have budgets or they have no budgets. And even after the film is shot, you don't know if it's going to release, right? But do you think that process has changed? Is it more streamlined now?
Yes, it is. Back when web shows were being made and they were still very new, I would get calls saying, यार budget बहुत कम है क्योंकि ना web show है. और आज के time में things have changed drastically, and also a great thing that's happened is कि हम अब कहीं ना कहीं equal pay की तरफ जा रहे हैं, because there was a time when people who had just started working in films, who had just started acting, men, I mean my male counterparts, would get paid way more than me, and I think that was a norm. But अब चीज़ें बदली हैं, and I'm really glad that people are getting their dues, and irrespective of their of their gender. So that's a great thing, and I feel कि going to 100 auditions and meeting so many casting directors, meeting so many people, it sort of helped me. For me, it was my school, because I was never sent to an acting school. I was never trained professionally as an actor, so whatever I learned was on the job. And I think now that's helping me a lot, because in this OTT space, there's scope for an actor to bring a lot more than just their performance to the table. There's a lot of inputs that we are allowed to give. There are a lot of young writers who are open to listening. So I think that it's a great time, because I'm getting to exercise my brain a lot more than I used to.
But Tahir, for you, like transitioning from television to now doing Netflix shows, I don't know why I made that face. It's not like it's
Like
just,
OTT.
yeah, OTT. So the transition, what is the difference between that and this?
Essentially, I think it's not only OTT. I think television is a world of its own. It always has been. So when I started working, it's almost been 14, 15 years now. So TV essentially was another world. So when I came in, the casting directors would be like, when I was a AD, so you know, sir, ye TV actor isko mat lo yaar. Honestly, that's what used to happen then. The big change now is that I produced and directed a show called 100, which is on Hotstar. And they wanted to see if you have any TV actors too. Like, you know, so that is a huge thing, where earlier television was not given the kind of respect that, like, for example, if you watch Brahmastra, right? Brahmastra is Moni Roy, right? Moni started her career in television. She was Nagin, so I think that's fantastic. So in terms of that, there's a lot of open-mindedness in OTT, and even in film for that matter, where we've evolved a lot over the last, like in the course of my short stint in the film business. But having said that, at least in my particular case, for me, I've only worked for my creative freedom. I don't do anything where I don't think I can do justice. So I did television because it was a show that I loved, so I did it. But in terms of the breaking through from television to web, in my particular case, it hasn't been a difference. Like for me, like she was saying, you know, we go and we give auditions, and we become masters at depression when we don't get cast. So yeah, that's the problem.
Most of the times they don't even call you back and say you did not get the role.
No, never.
Oh, you don't do that?
No, sometimes. Some 5-6 people do.
Some of them are really kind.
They're like, you're so sweet, it does not work out this time. Better luck next time.
I don't know what's better, not getting to know or getting to know. वो एकदम से heartbreak या धीरे-धीरे हाँ नहीं fade away हो गया.
But tell me something. I mean, you've done plenty of roles. You've done plenty of roles, right? Different things. How do you go about choosing which one you should do?
A couple of years back, I honestly didn't have the freedom or the luxury to choose. I would do everything I would get, and I mean, of course, things that I was only comfortable with. But I was very lucky to, because I got to work with some really good people, I didn't end up regretting much. And like you said, some things don't release. The ones that I regret, some of them didn't release, so I'm sorry for saying this. But I have been lucky enough to work with some filmmakers who have sort of nurtured me and taught me a lot in their own way. So yes. So now I feel like I am lucky enough to be able to pick up roles that I would want to do, that would challenge me. So यही होता है कि 3-4 checkbox होते हैं. First is who the filmmaker is. अगर if there are so many people on my list that I want to work with, and I think that that's the case with every actor, that इनके साथ एक दिन काम करना है. अगर वो उस list में है तो great, and if I talk to them and I feel that ये निकाल लेंगे performance. It's very important to have a director with a vision and someone's vision you can go with. And of course, you need to see what's on paper. If there's something problematic that you don't want to be a part of. Maybe in the past, I might have done something that I'm not proud of now. But now that I have the liberty to say no to certain things, I like to just skim through at least to see if there's things that might offend someone that are not right. That's second. And sometimes it's also about the amount of research that's going to go into the role. That's something that excites me. I'm a reader, so I like to pick up projects where I would end up watching a lot, I would end up making notes, and of course, there's the money.
What about you? Because you said that you only do things that give you creative freedom. But as an actor, how often does that happen? Isn't a director sitting on your head and saying, do it like this?
So I'm a complete director's actor. So so my process to choose to get to the stage where a director tells me what to do, for me it's number one is the makers. Also because I have extensive experience as a producer director to know how important it is as to who is making it, right? Because in my life I've got a lot of, like you were saying, so many scripts come your way, but tumko malum hai kabhi banegi nahi. Banegi to kabhi niklegi nahi, bidu. So there was no way I was going to do that. So that's number one, because I've got some interesting, like super interesting parts which I know have never happened. It's been 7-8 years. Apart from the makers, I always feel that I, as a human being, should start empathizing with that character. So for me, it's never been whether it's a lead part or a small part. Like, it's an interesting story. When Guilty was happening, which is one of the biggest films in my life, Dharma was launching, first film with Dharmatic, Kiara Advani, blah, 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 all of that. And I got a show called Poison 2. And I decided to do the part because I dreamt of doing that. Logistically, it was wrong. My management said no. All of my friends said no. But I felt like doing it. And so much so it's a long story, but I really enjoyed doing that part. So for me, if I empathize with that character, right, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, that part is mine. After seeing number one, logistics, where that effort that I'll put in will not be wasted. And if I don't, like for example, there have been a couple of parts which have come, huge parts, big parts, and people are like, why haven't you done it? It's because I just can't. I cannot relate or I cannot empathize with that guy. Like for example, I've not been able to play a rapist. I've not been able to play a couple of parts which, like the moment I think I go into that character, Tahir comes in the middle and takes me out. Tahir cringes at that. So where Tahir forgets Tahir and becomes, say, a Danish Beg in Guilty, that's the way I choose them.
No, that's great because, I mean, the one thing common with whatever you both said right now is you all don't really look at it from whether it is an OTT or a TV release. Shouldn't that be a consideration now?
The platform?
Uh-huh.
Not anymore, I think.
No?
Things have really changed, and I think it's not important to see what platform.
Aren't there a lot of people saying that, man, I'd rather have an OTT release?
In today's times, I would say that because I'm a more bankable actor in terms of OTT releases, तो मुझे लगता है कि it's safe. I would love a theatrical release, honestly,
Right.
to be able to see myself on the big screen again. It's been quite a while since I did that. So it would be great, but I feel that considering today's mahal, it's safer to get an OTT release.
What do you think?
I feel every actor's dream is to be on screen. Yeah, I don't know any actor will say मेरे को ना मैं OTT करूँगा. So I've also had the great privilege to work with Shah Rukh Khan, right? And twice a year, Ashutosh and I would go sit with him and say, give us some advice. So his third advice to me, because I was becoming an actor, he said, beta, most actors don't think that acting bahut ho gaya. But the number one thing that we fail to understand that film is a business, right? So first he said, cinema ki auqat bana lo, phir karo. It's like that. So you can't, so the greats, right? The reason why they've sustained for so long, and I have the great privilege to work with Ajay and Shah Rukh and Akisa and Namshabana and all that, is that they even give back the money. So if the film doesn't do well, they do. Are we in a position to do that? So when you put, when it's cinema, people think that, pehle picture bana li. Aisa nahi hai. So you put in the money to make the film, then there's P&A, and there's how many prints, and if after that, if it fails, it's on you, right? Because unfortunately, like I always say, that cinema is a director's medium, but if eventually a lot of your backlog falls on the actor. It's not like theater. In a theater, it's an actor's medium. But the makers in cinema are way more powerful than an actor, but ultimately it comes to, like if a Lal Singh Chadda doesn't do well, it goes to Amir sir. Why? Right? So that, I feel as actors, which is a great learning. Till the time we don't feel that we are at a particular position in life, we shouldn't feel bad that we are not being cast. That's all.
But then tell me something. I mean, let's not bring up your ages here, but we've all been conditioned since the time we've started consuming content, right? That there is a formula to make a hit film.
Right.
कि ये है formula. ये चल रहा है अभी तो ऐसे ही बनाते हैं, correct? And you've been conditioned that way. You've been brought up that way, and suddenly OTT has slapped that formula away. Where they are saying that now we're going to experiment. This is variety. Society is now going to reflect the culture and not the other way around, right? In that scenario, does that make you anxious when you're reading a script saying, man, this is interesting, but this has not worked before or nothing like this has been made. Should I even do it? So do you want to play safe? Is that at any point, does it feel like that? That man, this is तो थोड़ा scary. It's great, but it's scary. करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए.
I तो jump on these opportunities honestly. I've been waiting because आप मेरी शक्ल देखिए. मुझे cute girl next door इस तरह के roles बहुत offer होते थे. And I love doing it. I love running around the trees and all of that. But I knew that there's an artist that is sort of still hungry for more. And even now when I do a couple of shows or films where I feel that it's taken a bit too much emotionally and physically, फिर मन करता है to go back to the safety of running around the trees. But I feel like I said, बड़ा मज़ा आता है notes बनाओ, discussions करो. Even while I was coming here, I was just on my laptop making notes and texting my director, pestering him, sir ये questions हैं, there's too many problems, I need to fix this. So मुझे तो मज़ा आता है honestly. I don't want to play it safe anymore. यही तो time है. This is the time to experiment and go crazy probably.
I think both. I'll do both. Also I think mainstream has
No,
changed.
of course you'll do both. I'm not saying you won't.
Yeah, but I'm
just
not
saying,
anxious.
But does that make you anxious? That
Not at all. Not at all. Like for example, also the problem with me is like I'm a hardcore actor trapped in this body. It's a big problem. I must confess, right? So it's a real. I don't know how to say it. So when people now, when they casting, they're like, "Tu na thoda tu urban hai, urban. Thoda urban hai tu."
Do you remember the time when they used to text us upmarket faces?
Yes. Upmarket faces. So I like
Upmarket face.
those are the two. You're not upmarket enough. So my problem is that I'm, so it's very like thoda aisa. And I'm like, no, like, so example, I'm a huge fan. Like I was Irfan sir's fan since I know him in back when he used to come and hang out at Sudhir's place. ये क्या हो गया? सब ठीक तो है?
did we overshoot?
Hello. हाँ, आग नहीं लगी है ना फिर ठीक है. हाँ, मेरे को लगा problem है, बरसात आएगी. So for me, I've been a big fan of that. So from inside, I'm like that guy. I'm like Nawaz bhai from inside, but I don't get offered that stuff. And when I ऊपर से go and say, can I please do this? They're like, तू लगता नहीं है. So I am तो dying. Please give me that, that ragdam patti stuff. So, but I don't get offered. मतलब.
I get what you're saying.
But has OTT changed things for the actors? Like, is it easier now? Is it more difficult? Is there more competition? Is there less competition? How has OTT changed your life?
For me, it has changed it drastically because as I was growing up, I was doing films, I was going to auditions, like I said. I was doing ads also to sustain myself and make sure that I don't get called back to Delhi. But this happened, I started getting web shows and I realized that, and I've said this before as well, that someone like me with no connections whatsoever, no acting school background, is a more bankable face because of OTT, because people, it's so easy for people to access the content that we work in, and that keeps on adding to our fan base or our audience or whatever you like to call it. कि, you know, फिर producers भरोसा करते हैं कि हाँ, this person can pull this off, and since there are more and more opportunities, there are more and more actors coming in, which of course there's always going to be competition. But I'm glad that people like me, coming from normal backgrounds, are you know, at least getting to explore. They're at least getting a chance to experience what it's like to be in front of the camera, and then they can probably decide whether they like it or not. So I think it's great, क्योंकि पहले कुछ 10-12 साल पहले हम जब अच्छे एक्टर्स की बात करते थे तो we had a couple of names off the top of our head, and that's about it. इतने सारे लोग थे. कल I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Jaideep Ahlawat, and he was telling me about one of his films where he's played a bit part, and we didn't remember it. तब मुझे realize हुआ कि what a star, ये star है मेरे लिए. So I feel कि सबको एक, everyone's getting that respect. If they act well, if they perform well, if the audience loves them, they get the kind of respect, they get the kind of money, they get the kind of roles that they deserve. So I think it's great for all of us.
Definitely a game changer actually, because I wouldn't dream to be in a Dharma film, right? It's every kid's dream, right? To be in a Dharma movie. Right, so Dharmatics was opening up, and to be a part of Dharma's first ever, and I was the first AD and second unit director on Agnipath. So मैं वहाँ धर्मा के ऑफिस में जाके सपने देखता था, अरे यार क्या बात है यार. And to be in Karan's production is massive. Not have been possible because there was no way you'd be banking so much money on a new actor. But I think for an actor it is boom time. Not for an actor, I would say for every artist today. For whether you're a writer, actor, director. Writers, there was a writer, I mean, I would also say because the films cannot be made without actors, I always give a lot of credit to them. Without writers, we are nothing. It's the best time. Writers who are not getting paid like peanuts are now getting brick and mortar. You know what I'm saying? Bangle bana rahe. So I think it's a great time for all of us. But to understand that, I also feel because the risk has come down a lot. What used to happen is that with cinema, there's a big risk. Picture achhi lagegi, nahi lagegi. I often say when we are producing now, we are like vendors. So we are given a commission project, आप बनाओ और वापस दो. वो प्रोड्यूसर का जमाना गया नहीं कि 4 खेत बेच के मैं आया हूँ हरियाणा से और चलो सर पिक्चर बनाओ, लगी तो अच्छी नहीं तो फिर चले वापस खेत बेचने. That time is gone. So I think the risk factor has gone down. So as an artist, as an actor, and I think every artist, if you guys are here, you know, it's the same. It's a boom time.
Okay, awesome. I think I just have one last question. Since you guys have both transitioned from television and now doing OTT, obviously OTT cannot match the audience that television had in terms of sheer numbers, right? But has that changed the fandom? Like, don't you miss that mass hysteria that television had?
Honestly, I have never really done a television show. So I started with films. And I can still answer this question because I worked in the South and there cinema is God. And actors are treated that way, and you know, going to promotions and people crying just because they got to see us was a thing there. So from there to here, where people not only want to take pictures with you, they also want to talk about the work that you have done. They also want to give you feedback. They also want to tell you how something you said on screen impacted them in their lives. So I think the fact that we as actors seem more approachable to people. People get that confidence to talk to us and discuss things with us. So I enjoy this more. Of course, that kind of love is just something else, but it's also overwhelming. But this makes me happier, honestly. Young people coming up to me and telling them that they saw a show that I did for Discovery. That's the only television I've done so far. And you know, this is what I learned from that show. So I think that makes me happier any day.
I don't think there's any comparison. Television is huge. And it's not only like I did my first show 6 or 7 years ago. Every fan club from then is activated and they're following and there's boxes of stuff still coming 6 years. I cannot comprehend it. I did one episode and I was walking on Chopati and these 6 Gujarati aunties and I live in South Bombay. And they're like, hey, Viraj, in one episode, man. Nobody gave a damn about me when all these years I was like, I'm the second unit director of Bhag Milkha Bhag. Nobody cared. And so that is the power of television. I've had the great fortune of doing film and everything. Of course, film also gives you another kind of adulation. It's adulation, but that mass hysteria where like people are just like Jennifer Winger. I did मेरे पैसे कम हो गए थे 2018 में तो मैंने वापस cameo कर लिया था. And I was working with Jennifer. They went ballistic. Like there's no, like film stardom happens when you become a huge film star. But in television, आप गए, आपका शो हिट हो गया, आप बन गए विराज सर. So ऐसे उसको वेब को थोड़ा टाइम लगा उधर पहुंचते.
Thank you everyone. It was really wonderful talking to you guys, and I hope to see you guys again in the future.
Our pleasure. Thank you for
See
being
you.
awake
Bye.
for us. We love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.